Kristine Weber. Thanks so much for being here. I today want to talk a little bit about rest, basically. And I'm giggling because it's such a hard and elusive topic and so simple at the same time. Like we all need to rest, but I find that for many of us it's really difficult. And so I want to show you a practice you can do that will take like 5 minutes. And you probably already know this practice if you're a yoga person, but my take on it might be slightly different. I think particularly at this time of year, when things get really busy and really crazy and there's lots of like socializing and traveling and all that stuff goes on, it's also important to make time for rest because we often don't make enough time for it and we often really need rest. We've been going through such an intense period of time over the past 3 years. And we thought I sort of figured everything would get easier as COVID started to go away, but actually, there's so many other problems that have been cropping up. And I even have had people tell me that they have like an apocalyptic fear of the future because of what's going on with the environment and rising sea levels and all that scary stuff. And I get it, and so we could ignore it, which isn't a bad thing sometimes. Turn off the television, not a bad thing to ignore it sometimes, but also it's a matter of building resilience and feeling like you can handle whatever is coming, or whatever we're dealing with, and personally as well as in terms of collectively and what's going on in the world. So learning how to rest and teaching your nervous system how to rest and doing it regularly it prepares us for the difficult times. Like if we don't have any resilience and we can't, the window of tolerance, the window of what we can tolerate, that's a model from Dan Siegel. If your window is really tiny, you can't tolerate anything going wrong, then how are you going to deal with problems as they come up, whether it's somebody loses a job or get a divorce, or you lose somebody dies, you have to deal with that stuff. We can't just distract ourselves and ignore it. So one of the ways you do that is by trying to widen that window. You got to press up. That's the hard exercise stuff and like dealing with challenging things and climbing mountains. And you also have to be able to push down, and that's teaching your nervous system how to rest. Both of those are important skills. Okay, so here's a practice you can do. You're welcome to do it with me. I'm going to use a chair for this practice. It's called Legs Up the Chair. You may have seen this before. So feel free to grab a chair and join me. It's only going to take less than 5 minutes. So to get into legs up the chair, one of the best things to do is to sit. First, you start sitting with your legs straight out. Here's my chair, sitting with my legs straight out. And then I'm just going to hook both of my feet towards the chair and then scoot my hips a little bit closer to the chair. So I'm right up to it. And then I'm going to put that shoulder down on the floor. And then when I roll, my shoulders on the floor, by the way, just right on the edge of my mat. And then when I roll, I'm right on the middle of the mat with my legs up the chair. This is a good way to get into legs up the wall as well. If your chair has rungs in it, there may be a way to get put the feet through the rungs. Sometimes that's more comfortable. I feel like I'm a little bit too close, so I'm just moving away. The other thing is some people are shorter than I am in the chair, and then their legs are sticking up. That's not so useful. You want to put blankets underneath so that the heels are resting on blanket. The heels should be resting and legs up the chair. Okay, once you're in the position starts doing its magic right away because it is sending signals to the nervous system to calm things down. That happens through a cascade of chemical responses, essentially, nervous system responses, I guess you could say. So the palms facing up. So the magic sort of works itself just by staying here, but there are certain things we can do to catalyze or accentuate the process. And one of my favorite ones is to notice lots of parts of your body, but particularly the belly and the low back. The belly and the low back. So you could put your hands on your belly if you want. And the practice here is to get a little softer in the belly and let the belly sink the yogis talked about a certain practice, Taraka Mudra, it's called. We're not doing that now. Maybe we'll do that some other time. But but in that practice, what's so beautiful about it is the idea is that the belly's like a lake, and you're letting that lake be kind of placid, letting that lake be sort of like glass, really, really clear and really soft. Okay, so the belly is a great place to concentrate, and we could spend a lot more time there, but for time reasons, I'm going to move on. And then the next place that's interesting to concentrate is the low back area. So from, as of course, from the sacrum for sure, but then moving up, and the area that's really nice to concentrate on is the low back ribs, because the low back ribs are protecting your kidneys. And your kidneys, sitting right on top of them, are those spongy little adrenaline glands, which are a very important part of the stress response system, the hypothalamic, pituitary, adrenal system, as well as the SAM system, which is the fast acting stress system. So we have two stress systems. So the HPA axis is particularly important because when we're stressed, the kidneys, the adrenaline glands release cortisol, corticosteroids, mostly cortisol, that is going into the bloodstream and telling your nervous system to keep, and the endocrine system to keep the stress response flowing. It takes 8 to 12 hours for that stuff to resolve. So you want to interfere with it. This is one of the practices to interfere with it. So you get your mind into these low back ribs, right, that are protecting the kidneys, and the kidneys are a little bit there and a little bit underneath as well. And you sort of visualize or imagine the kidneys sinking, the whole organ sinking. If you've ever had kidney pain, you know exactly where your kidneys are. Otherwise, you just have to kind of ballpark it. And so you visualize or you imagine that area getting softer, kidneys sinking, and as if they are plugging into the earth energy, and they're kind of recharging as if they're rechargeable batteries, and you're plugging them into the earth to recharge. So you use the earth as a grounding tool, which is exactly what it is, just waiting there for you to notice the gravity drawing in. So soft belly and continually softening low back, as if the kidneys are sinking and plugging into the earth energy of calmness and soothing and relaxing. Okay. Keep going as long as you want. I'm going to end the video now, but you, of course, are welcome to keep going. And I hope that's helpful for you. Please take time during this busy season to do these kind of practices, to let yourself have an opportunity, even 5 minutes a day. It makes a huge difference. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you next week. Lots of love.